Good evening to all. So, just confirm me once that my voice is audible and the presentation is visible to you. My voice is audible and presentation is visible. If everything is okay, then we are going to start the session. So, I just want your confirmation. My voice is okay. Okay, sir. So, we are going to start our discussion on Section 15 of the GST Act, that is valuation. Before moving ahead, I just want to recall all those things which we had already discussed in our last two sessions. So we had started our discussion with the constitutional background of GST, Article 246A. Then after we had start our discussion on the a term that is activities or transactions on which GST should be charged, that is point of taxation, that is supply. And as per section 7 of the GST Act, supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental. Okay. For the in the course of furtherance of business for a consideration. फिर हम लोगों ने बोला if the import is फॉर अ कंसिडरेशन, चाहे वो इन द कोर्स ऑफ फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस नहीं भी होगा, फिर भी उसको हम लोग सप्लाई ट्रीट कर देंगे. ऑल द एक्टिविटीज और ट्रांजेक्शन व्हिच इज मेंशन्ड इन द शेड्यूल नंबर 1, वेदर देयर विल बी अ कंसिडरेशन और नॉट, फिर भी वहां पर वो सप्लाई की डेफिनेशन में कवर हो जाएगा. एंड consideration should be decided as per the valuation rule section 15 or various valuation rules 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Okay, after that Schedule 2 will tell us about that particular transaction is a supply of goods or supply of services. And in that particular schedule, one important thing is that when someone is going to transfer the title, in that case, we can say that this is a supply of goods. And if there is just a transfer of right to use that particular land and building, plant and machinery or assets, in that case, we can say that this is an supply of services. Then after Schedule 3 of CGST Act talks about neither supply of goods nor supply of services, employer-employee relationship, funeral और उससे related activities, और कोई भी बंदा जो कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर कोई पोस्ट हेल्ड करता है, इन दैट केस वी कैन से ऑल दोस थिंग्स आर neither supply of goods nor supply of services, hence no question of GST. After that, we had started our discussion on Section 8 of CGST Act, that is composite supply and mixed supply. In case of composite supply, two supplies are naturally bundled. One is principal supply and another is ancillary supply. In case of mixed supply, there will be two supplies. Highest rate will be charged. They are not naturally bundled. Then after we had started our discussion on Section 9, that is charging section. Section 9 subsection 1 talks about that there is a maximum rate of GST is 20%. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption को छोड़ दो, all other things intra state supply पर GST charge होगा. As per section 9 subsection 2, on 5 petroleum product, government will notify the date on which GST should be chargeable on the recommendation of GST council. Then after section 9 subsection 3 talks about the specific list of services or goods on which reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Then after we had started our discussion on the specific list, in case of goods there was 6 to 7 types of goods: priority sector lending certificates, raw cotton, tending leaves, tobacco. All those things are covered under that specific list. Then after we had started our discussion on the list of services, in the case of these type of specific goods or specific type of services, the recipient will be liable to make the payment of taxes. Supplier is not liable to make the payment of taxes. After that, we had started our discussion on the time of supply. Section 12 of CGST Act talks about the time of supply in case of goods, or section 13 talks about time of supply in case of सर्विसेज. इन केस ऑफ गुड्स कैसे हम लोग टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई डिसाइड करेंगे? सो इनवॉइस डेट विल बी द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. इन केस ऑफ रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म, जिस दिन गुड्स रिसीव हुआ और जिस दिन बुक्स में एंट्री हुई और 30 days फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइसेस whichever is earlier will be the time of supply. In case of voucher, if as on the date of issue of voucher the voucher is identifiable, in that case date of issue will be treated as your time of supply. In case voucher is not identifiable, in that case the redemption date will be treated as your time of supply. In case if there is any addition on account of interest, late fees, penalty, in that case the date of that particular addition will be treated as your time of supply. Then after we had started our discussion on the time of supply in case of services. Invoice or payment, whichever is earlier, will be the time of supply. In case forward charge, if there will be a reverse charge, in that case time of supply will be the date on which entry has to be made in the books of accounts and 60 days from the issue of the invoices, whichever is earlier will be the time of supply. Voucher के केस में same provision will be applicable, addition के केस में same provision will be applicable. After that, if there is any change of rated tax, in that case there are total six situation was there, and we had already discussed on that. After that, we had started our discussion on section 15, that is value of supply. Sir, we had already decided the term supply. After that, we had decided what will be the time of supply, and now on which value we need to charge the GST. So we need to take the reference of value of supply. And as per sections 15 subsection 1, if buyer and supplier is not the related party and price is the sole consideration, in that case the transaction value will be treated as your value of supply. And in that transaction value, all type of incidental expenditure, loading unloading expenditure, is to be included in that transaction value. And also if there is any type of duty, sales, taxes, in that case that duty, sales or taxes will be included for calculating that transaction value, except the taxes on account of GST will not be included. ये सारी की सारी चीजें we had already discussed. सो योर कॉन्सेप्ट इज ओके. जो हमने लास्ट 4 आवर्स में पढ़ा, मतलब 2 2 आवर्स के 2 सेशन है, लास्ट टू सेशंस में जो भी हमने पढ़ा, ऑल द थिंग्स वी हैड डन द रिवीजन विद इन 5 to 7 minutes. Sir, each and everything is okay for you. So I am assuming that each and everything is okay. You may comment in the chat box that sir, each and everything is okay. So we are going to start our discussion with the next point. If there is any interest, late fees or penalty for delayed payment, in that case that will also be included in the value of supply. Suppose I had made one supply to Mr. X, okay, for 1 lakh rupees. Mr. X has not made the payment to me within the given time, within the stipulated time. In that case, if I am going to charge anything on account of interest, suppose I had sold the goods for 1 lakh rupees. 70,000 I had received within time. 30,000 rupees not received within time. In that case, if I charged 5,000 rupees as an interest, in that case, 35,000 will be the value of supply and GST should be charged on that interest part also. That is what is the things on which we need to take our consideration. Okay. Now, there is no GST on account of interest, but if the interest is only due to trade, that is trade interest. Suppose I had transferred the goods to that person and is not making the payment to me within the given time. In that case, if I am charging any type of interest, that interest should be treated as your trade interest and GST should be applicable on that type of interest. Now, penal interest. What about the penal interest on EMI? So I am going to take the example, and with the reference of that example, I am going to clear the situation. In that particular example, suppose the product was for 1 lakh rupees. Okay. I am the supplier. Sachin is the supplier. Okay. One buyer is here. Mr. X is the buyer. Mr. X has no sufficient amount of money. तो उसने बोला कि sir, can you take the loan on account of me? Can you provide that particular goods on loan? Okay. In that case, I had taken one loan from Bajaj Finance. I had taken, that is Sachin has taken the loan of 1 lakh rupees from Bajaj Finance, and I had provided that particular product to Mr. X, and Mr. X is giving the EMI to me, and I am going to make the payment of EMI to Bajaj Finance. In that case, suppose if there is any delay in payment by Mr. X, okay, if there is any delay in payment by Mr. X, and if there is any addition of interest on account of delay, in that case, on that particular interest, GST will be chargeable. On that particular interest GST will be applicable because that interest is due to trade. मैंने उस बंदे के साथ मिस्टर एक्स के साथ में बिजनेस किया, मैंने अपना गुड सप्लाई किया, ऑन दैट अकाउंट अगर वहां पर वो पेमेंट में कोई भी डिले करता है, इन दैट केस GST विल बी चार्जेबल. नाउ नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल. Sir, if you have any issue, if you have any doubt, if you have any question in any particular example, you may raise your questions at the same time. Okay, so that we can take that question. We can take certain other examples for your more clarification. Okay. Now, second example. Suppose Sachin is the supplier. Is going to take loan from Bajaj Finance for buying that particular goods, और उसने Mr. X has taken that loan from Bajaj Finance and given an amount to me 1 lakh rupees, and I had supplied that particular goods to Mr. X. In that case, if X is not going to make the payment within the given time to Bajaj Finance, in that case there is no GST will be applicable because this interest is due to money. Bajaj Finance has just provided me the money to payment to Mr. Sachin. In that case, there is no GST will be applicable. That means conclusively we can say whenever there will be an interest on account of trade, in that case GST will be chargeable. Whenever there will be an interest on account of financial terms, in that case there is no GST will be chargeable. So we need to take care of this. कई बार as a departmental authority, when we are going for the departmental audit of the financial institution or non-banking financial companies, and if they are providing that services, okay, in that case we need to check. Or if the buyer has taken any loan from that non-banking financial company, or non-banking NBFC is going to take interest from that particular person, in that case we need to check the appropriate provisions of GST according to the provisions. Okay. Now, subsidy directly linked to the price, excluding subsidies provided by the central government or state government. If any subsidy is provided by the central government or state government, in that case that subsidy will not be included in that case, and all other subsidies will be included in the case. Okay. So general subsidy not linked to the sales shall not be added to the supply. If the subsidy is provided by the central government or state government, in that case that subsidy will be included. That means, suppose Mr. X is going to make supply of 1 lakh rupees, and in that case there is a subsidy of 20,000 rupees from central government. In that case GST will be payable only on that 80,000 rupees. But if the subsidy is general subsidy, that is subsidy is not received by central government, state government, normal subsidy will be received by Mr. X, in that case that subsidy will not be part of the transaction value. That means GST should be payable on that 1 lakh rupees itself. So whenever you are going to check the invoices, in that specific case we need to check there is any subsidy or not, or if there is any subsidies available, in that case we need to check the treatment of that subsidy. Now your question is that whether we need to check each and every invoices for that particular subsidy. So as a professional I can say we just need to check the ledger of subsidy. If there is any ledger available in the books of accounts regarding the subsidy, or if there is any entry in the books of accounts is existence with the name of subsidy, in that case we need to check the ledger and we need to check the adjustment, that whether the subsidy is from the central government or state government, and adjusted with the invoices. And if the subsidy is normal subsidy, in that case cannot be adjusted with the invoices. That is what is the concept of subsidy. My speed is okay. If you think that my speed is in excess, in that case you may comment in the chat box so that I can adjust my speed also. Subsidy part is clear, penal interest part is clear. Very simple. If the interest is on account of financial, no GST. If the interest is on account of trade, in that case GST will be payable. Subsidy, if the subsidy is received from central government or state government, in that case that should be adjusted with the value, and if the subsidy is not from the central government, state government, that is subsidy other than central government and state government, in that case cannot be adjusted with the value. Now, complete credit note, that is complete discount part, I am going to take one example, and with reference of that example I am going to discuss on that discount part. If the discount has already been decided at the time of supply or invoice, if the discount is already decided at the time of supply or invoice or before, in that case that discount will be treated, in that case, for providing that particular discount, credit note can be issued. Okay, but the terms have not been decided at the time of supply of invoices. In that case, credit note can be issued, but creditor can be issued with the financial credit note. Up now, question arises: what is the difference between the financial credit note and what is the difference between the credit note with GST? So we are going to take the example, and with reference of that example, I am going to explain the complete thing. Suppose I am a supplier. Okay. I am a supplier and I am going to book a sales for 1 lakh rupees. I am going to make a supply of 1 lakh rupees. Or I am going to make that supply to Mr. Palash. Okay. I am going to make that supply to Mr. Palash. In that case, मैंने Palash को ये बोला, if you are going to sell a specified limit of that product, in that case, I am going to provide a discount of 10%. Terms has already been decided at the time of issue of invoices. After that, Palace has fulfilled that condition, and in that case, I need to provide a 10% discount. Once I had made the invoice of 1 lakh rupees and I had already paid the taxes at the rate of 18%. Now, as per the terms which is decided at the time of issue of invoices, 10% discount is there. In that case, I am going to issue a credit note for 10,000 rupees. In that case, I can adjust the GST figure also. That is 10,000 and 1800 GST figure I can adjust. So I can issue the credit note accordingly. In that case, terms has already been decided. Now, second example. First example is okay for you. Just I am going to share the examples, and after completion of that example, this is my humble request to you. Just put in the chat box that is example is clear in your mind or not. Now, second example. वही सचिन है, वही पलाश. Sachin is going to make a supply of 1 lakh rupees to Mr. Palash, and there is no any terms is decided for the regarding the discount. After receiving that goods, Palash found there is a deficiency in that particular goods. Okay, there is a deficiency. इसलिए पलाश ने बोला कि for that 1 lakh rupees, I am just going to make the payment of 90,000 to you. So in that case, that discount was not decided at the time of supply and terms was not decided at the time of supply. At the time of issue of invoices, there was no terms decided. In that case, now Sachin has to issue the credit note for that 10,000 rupees because he has raised the invoice of 1 lakh rupees and he is receiving only 90,000 rupees. That Sachin has to issue a credit note for 10,000 rupees. So in that case, Sachin can issue the credit note for 10,000 rupees, but that credit note will be financial credit note. That means no GST adjustment should be done in that case. I am not going to reduce the output tax by 1800. I am just going to reduce the value, that is 10,000 rupees. I am just going to reduce the taxable value. That is what is the concept of discount. This is a very easy concept. In case of discount, if the terms has already been decided, In that case, the discount should be treated as your discount with GST effects. That means you can issue the credit note with GST effects. In case if the discount has not been decided at the time of issue of invoices, in that case financial credit note can be issued. GST amount cannot be reduced in that case, that is output tax cannot be reduced in that case. Whenever we are going for the GST audit or departmental audit, we need to check these things. We just need to take the print out of that discount ledger, and when we are going to check the discount ledger, we need to check the nature of the discount. The discount is a financial discount or the discount is with GST effect. Okay, how we are going to check that? So we need to check the nature of the transaction. Like, what is the nature of the transaction? What type of discount is this? Suppose the discount is on account of rate difference. So the rate difference has not been decided at the time of issue of invoices. Then this discount should be a financial credit note should be issued. So that is what is the concept of discount. Just confirm me once in the chat box that the penal interest wala part, discount wala part is okay for you. The complete concept of discount is okay for you, so that we can take the next point. If there is any quantity discount, that is if you are going to buy 10 products of particular unit, in that case one unit will be free for you. In that case, terms has already been decided at the time of supply. In that case, GST can be adjusted, that is GST related credit note can be issued in that case. So although today we have less number of participants, but it is my request to you, जितने लोग भी जुड़े हुए हैं, please comment in the chat box that the discount part is okay for you, because this is a very specific term which is available in the profit and loss account. Many times we found out that term, okay, and we need to check this very carefully. Now, there is one specific section is available, that is section 15 subsection 4. And as per section 15 subsection 4, if we are not able to decide the value of supply as per section 15 subsection 1, 2 and 3, okay, in that case we can take the reference of various valuation rules. So here certain valuation rules are available. If we are not going to decide the value of supply as per the journal principle, in that case we may take the reference of the valuation rules. So first of all, we are going to start our discussion on the valuation rule number 27. These rules are very much important when we are going for the departmental audit, and while filing GSTR 9 and 9C, we need to check these things. Okay, we need to check that the valuation is correct or not, and we need to check the valuation on the basis of situation. If we are not going to decide the value on journal principle, in that case, we need to take the reference of various valuation rules. So valuation rule number 27 will be applicable. In that case, the whole consideration is not in money. Suppose, so what is the example of it? Suppose I am a computer dealer and I am making a supply of computer of 1 lakh rupees. Okay. Suppose I had make a supply of one laptop, and for that particular supply, I am getting one printer and 10,000 rupees. I had provided the laptop, I had sold the laptop, and I am getting just one printer and 10,000 rupees for a consideration. In that case, what will be the value on which I need to charge the GST? Because monetary consideration is just 10,000 rupees and printer is like a monetary consideration. So how we can decide the value of the printer, and how we can decide the value of the laptop, and what will be the value on which we need to pay the GST? In this situation, we need to take the reference of rule number 27. So now, in that case, as per rule number 27, first option is that open market value of such supply. That means In that particular case, in this specific case, I am going to supply the laptop. In that case, we are going to take the value as the market, open market value of that laptop. That this laptop is, if the laptop is available in the market and the price of that laptop is 50,000 rupees, in that case 50,000 will be the value of supply of that laptop. Now, second, if the open market value is not available, in that case, the sum total of consideration in money, that is 10,000 rupees, and the monetary value of that printer, suppose the monetary value of that printer is 6,000 rupees. In that case, 10,000 rupees in money and 6,000 in monetary term, that is total 16,000 will be the value of supply as per this provision. So first में we are going to take the open market value. Second, जो money में मेरे पास में पैसा है money plus monetary consideration. If we are not going to decide the value of supply as per A and B, in that case we can take the value of the same like kind, like quality and like quantity. Here is just mentioned like kind and like quality. I am always saying we need to check the quantity also. So if the same laptop is not available in the market, the similar laptop is available in the market. In that case, the price of similar laptop is 30,000 rupees. In that case, we are going to take the value 30,000 rupees of that like laptop. Okay. In that case, the value of supply will be 30,000 rupees. Next, if we are not going to decide the value as per point number A, B, and C, that is open market value, money plus monetary value, or the like kind, like quality value, we are not going to decide. In that case, we need to take the reference of rule number 30 and 31. That means rule number 30 and 31 will be the master rules. Okay. Rule number 30 and 31 are the master rules under GST for valuation. So, in case of money plus monetary consideration, this is the way. Now, second situation we are going to take. First situation we had already discussed, in which the rule number 27 specific rule will be applicable. Now, rule number 28 will be applicable when the supply is between distinct and related persons. We had already discussed the definition of distinct and related person. Whenever there is a supply between the distinct and related person, in that case, how we are going to decide the value. Sir, why there is requirement of that valuation rule? Suppose I have a head office and I have one branch and I am transferring that particular goods from that head office to that branch. In that case, I am transferring from head office to the branch. There is chances कि मैं यहाँ पर price में manipulation कर सकता हूँ. Okay, suppose I have the excess balance of input tax credit. I may enhance the price and send the goods to my branch office, transferring the input tax credit, transferring the excess input tax credit. So, for that purposes, government had introduced rule number 28 in this specific case related to the distinct person, transfer between the distinct and related person. So, first option, we may take the open market value. Suppose I am going to transfer one television to my branch office. In that case, whatever will be the open market value of that television, we can take the value of supply and we can charge GST on that television accordingly. Second option, if open market value is not available, in that case, we can take the like kind, like quality, like quantity value. Suppose similar television is available in the market. In that case, we may take the value of that similar television and we are going to charge GST accordingly. Suppose that same television is available in the market for 25,000 rupees. In that case, we may take that 25,000 rupees as value of supply. If that similar television is not available, if the same television is not available, in that case, we may take the value of similar television. Just suppose the value of similar television is 22,000 rupees. In that case, we may take the value of supply as 22,000 rupees. Now, if we are not able to decide the value of supply as per point number A, that is open market value, and like kind and like quantity value, in that case, we may take the reference of rule number 30 and 31. So, in case of rule number 27, हम लोगों ने देखा कि अगर आप A, B और C से decide नहीं कर पा रहे हो, in that case we may take the reference of rule number 30 and 31. Same provision is applicable in case of rule number 28, distinct and related person. If we are not able to decide the value as per the open market value and like kind and like quality की value, in that case we may take the reference of rule number 30 and 31. But here one more option is available. Suppose head office is in Rajasthan and I am transferring the goods to branch office which is in Gujarat. Suppose I am going to make the supply in 1 lakh rupees and branch is going to further sell this product for 1 lakh 20,000 rupees. In the hand of head office, we may take the value as 90% of 1 lakh 20,000. That is, whatever will be the branch price which will charged by the branch office, we can take 90% of that particular price in the hand of head office, and head office may take that amount as a value of supply and pay the GST. Is that okay? We can easily get the prices of the branches and accordingly we need to decide. अब आप लोग बोलेंगे sir we need to check these things in each and every cases. No, we need to identify certain suspicious transactions at the time of our audit and we need to identify the things during our GSTR 9 and 9C filing so that we can get the things easily. Okay. And we need to decide the value of supply in that specific case. Okay. Now, one proviso. I am always saying that proviso is the very important role. Further, that where the recipient is eligible for full input tax credit, the value declared in the invoice shall be deemed to be the open market value of the goods and services. What is the meaning of this provision? This provision is saying, suppose Mr. X is a supplier and Mr. X is transferring that particular goods to Y, that is branch office. In that case, if Y is eligible for taking the 100% input tax credit, in that case, whatever will be the price charged by Mr. X will be deemed to be the value of supply. There is no issue with that because there is no chances of manipulation. But in my opinion, manipulation is possible. How? Suppose there is in the hand of X, there is a less balance of input tax credit. And actual price of the product which is transferred by Mr. X to Mr. Y is 1 lakh rupees. GST is 18,000. Suppose here the GST is available only 12,000 rupees. So X ने यहाँ पर सोचा कि I have a less amount of GST. In that case, क्यों ना मैं इसकी price को कम करके 70,000 कर दूं. 70,000 पे 18% I am going to pay and input complete 100% input will be available in the hand of Y. And Y has an excess balance of input tax credit. In that case, this is the situation of manipulation. X is going to transfer less input tax credit because there is a less balance in the hand of Mr. X and Mr. X is not going to pay the cash. So this situation is possible and the reverse situation is also possible. Whenever there is an excess balance of input tax credit in the hand of X and X wants to transfer that input tax credit to Mr. Y, in that case, X may decide the value as 1,50,000 rupees and transfer the excess input tax credit to Mr. X. In that case, this is also possible. So we need to be careful for that. Whenever we are going to check the transaction between the branch office and related office, whenever we are going to check the financial statement, we are going to check the stock transfer, stock out, we need to check the valuation also. Just don't go for the reconciliation. What we are doing, we are just going for the reconciliation that the sales is matched with the audit report and reconciliation is proper and all that. सर ये तो देखो reconciliation तो proper है, उसका valuation proper है या फिर नहीं है. So we need to check these things also. Rule number 27 done, rule number 28 done. Now, rule number 29 will be applicable in case of principal and agent. If there is any transfer between the principal and agent, in that case, rule number 29 will be applicable. I am a principal and I am going to make any supply to my agent. In that case, what will be the value of supply and how we are going to decide the value of supply? In that case, we need to take the reference of rule number 29. So, open market value of goods being supplied, or at the option of supplier, he may take the 90% of the price charged. First option is that whatever will be the open market value. Suppose principal, agent. Principal is going to make the supply to agent and the open market value of that goods is 1 lakh rupees. In that case, we may take that 1 lakh rupees as a value of supply. Second option is that suppose that agent is going to further sell that product in 1,20,000 rupees. In that case, we may take the value of supply as 90% of 1,20,000 rupees in the hand of principal. That is also, so these two options are available. If in case of principal and agent who are not going to decide the value as per these two principles, in that case we may take the reference of rule number 20, rule number 30 and 31. That means if you are not going to decide the value as per rule number 27, 28, 29, in that case there are master rules are available, rule number 20, rule number 30 and 31. Sir, what do you mean by this rule number 30? In this rule, the value will be whatever will be the posting in hand of the supplier, add 10%, 10% will be the value of supply. Suppose if you are not going to decide the value as per 27, 28, 29, but Mr. X is supplier, and we know very well that value in hand of the posting in hand of Mr. X is 1 lakh rupees. In that case, 1,10,000 rupees will be the value of supply as per rule number 30. Now, rule number 31 is the residual method for determination of value of supply of goods or services, where the value of supply of goods or services or both cannot be determined under rule number 27 to 30. The same shall be determined using the reasonable means. In that case, we need to check the nature of justice and reasonable means, and according to the nature of justice and according to the reasonable means, we are going to decide the value of supply. So, rule number 27, 28, 29, 30 and 31 is okay for you. Just comment in the chat box that rule number 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 is okay. And now, rule number 31. Value of supply in case of lottery, betting, gambling and house racing. In case of lottery, how we are going to decide the value? Suppose an authority is going to issue the lottery. In that case, we need to decide the value, that what will be the value of that particular lottery, and we need to charge GST on that particular lottery accordingly. So how we are going to decide the value? For that purposes, in case of lottery, value will be decided at 100 divided by 128, or the face value of that lottery, whichever is higher will be the value of supply. Suppose in case of lottery, face value is 100 rupees. First option is that 100 into 100 divided by this option. This is here. You can read deemed to be 100 divided by 128 of the face value, or the price which is notified in the official gazette. Suppose the price is notified in the official gazette is 90, whatever will be the higher, that is 90 rupees will be the value of supply, and GST should be charged on that 90 rupees. That is what is the concept in case of lottery. If an authority is going to issue the lottery, in that case, how we are going to decide the value of supply? So in that case, whatever will be the face value multiplied by 100 divided by 128, whatever figure will become, or the price which is notified in the official gazette, whichever higher will be treated as your value of supply, and we need to charge GST accordingly. Okay. Now, The value of supply in case of actionable claim will be 100% of the face value will be taken as the value of supply. Okay. Now, rule number 32 is really very important in case of banking industry. Banking industry in case of forex, sir. Whenever we are going to outside India, in that case, we require the foreign currency. Okay. Suppose I have a 1 lakh rupees in Indian currency. Okay. And I want approx 4,000 dirham. I am going to Dubai, hence I require that dirham, 4,000 dirham. Okay. In that case, I am going to that forex department, and forex department is going to take me 1 lakh rupees Indian currency, and they will provide me 4,000 rupees, 4,000 dirham. Okay. In that case, what will be the value of supply in case of banking industry? This complete 1 lakh rupees, this complete 4,000 dirham. No, the value of supply will be the transaction charge. Whatever will be the transaction charge, that will be the value of supply. Okay, in that case, how we are going to decide the value of supply in case of foreign currency exchange? So there are two methods available. Whatever option that banking industry wants to take, they need to apply beginning in the beginning of the financial year, and that rule will be applicable for the whole financial year. Okay, whenever we are going for the audit of any banking industry which is involved in that forex business, in that case we need to check that the valuation is proper or not, and for checking that valuation we need to take the reference of rule number 32. So as per rule number 32, the value of supply of services in relation to purchase and sale of foreign currency, including money changing, shall be determined by the supplier of service in the following manner. Okay, so I am going to read the language of law. Then after we are also going to take the example for your easy understanding. For a currency when exchanged from or to Indian rupee, and the value shall be equal to the difference in between the buying rate and selling rate, as the case may be, and the Reserve Bank of India reference rate for the currency at the time multiplied by the total number of units. That means the difference between the buying or selling or the Reserve Bank of India reference rate multiplied by total number of units. That means first situation is that in which RBI reference rate is available. Suppose I want to convert 75,000 rupees into dollar. Okay, I have INR 75,000 rupees and I want to convert that into USD. I know the USD price in Indian currency is 75 rupees. Okay. And RBI reference rate is 72 rupees. In that case, whatever will be the foreign currency rate, okay, 75 minus RBI reference rate multiplied by number of units. How many units you are getting? So you have 75,000 rupees and 1 USD is equal to 75 rupees. In that case, you are getting 1,000 units. So the difference between the USD minus the RBI reference rate multiplied by number of units will be your value of supply. That means in that case, you need to pay GST on that 3,000 rupees. Okay. Second situation where RBI reference rate is not available. RBI reference rate is not available. In that case, whatever will be the amount you are going to convert in the foreign currency, you just need to take 1% of that amount. In that specific case, you are going to convert 75,000 rupees into US dollar. In that case, you need to take the value of supply as 1% of that 75,000 rupees. That means that 750 will be the value of supply. Now, next, if Indian currency is not available, okay, you are going to convert the Indian currency into US डॉलर, बट आपको ये पता नहीं है कि कितने रुपए में एक यूएस डॉलर के लिए आप कितने रुपए देने पड़ेंगे. हाउ मच रुपीज यू नीड टू पे फॉर वन यूएस डॉलर, यू हैव नो आइडिया अबाउट दैट. ओके, सो इन दैट केस सपोज यू हैव नो इंडियन करेंसी, आपके पास में इंडियन करेंसी नहीं है, यू हैव यूरो एंड यू आर इन इंडिया एंड यू वांट टू कन्वर्ट दैट यूरो इनटू यूएस डॉलर. In that case, you have two foreign currencies, you have no Indian currency. In that case, you need to take 1% of both the currencies, that is US dollar and euro. You need to convert that US dollar into Indian currency, that euro into Indian currency, और उसका 1% करना है, whichever will be less will be your value of supply. Okay, so I am going to take the example, and with reference of that example, I am going to clear the situation. Suppose first situation in which RBI reference rate is available. Your RBI reference rate is available. In that case, suppose the amount was 75,000 rupees, you have 75,000 Indian currency, okay, and you want to convert that 75,000 rupees into US dollar, okay, and the price is 75 rupees. In that case, you are getting the 1,000 US dollar, and RBI reference rate is 72. In that case, the difference between the US dollar rate minus the RBI reference rate multiplied by number of unit will be your value of supply. In second situation, you have no idea about that reference rate. In that case, whatever will be the Indian currency you are going to convert, that is 75,000 rupees, you just need to take 1% of that 75,000 rupees, that is 750 will be your value of supply. Third situation, you have euro and you want to convert the same into US dollar. There is no involvement of Indian currency. In that case, you need to convert that euro into Indian currency and you need to convert that US dollar into Indian currency and take 1% of both, and whichever will be the less will be your value of supply for currency exchange. Is that clear? This example is only for you. जब RBI reference rate is available, RBI reference rate is not available, and there is no involvement of Indian currency. Three situations was there, and तीनों situation आपके लिए clear है क्या? I am just expecting reply from each and everyone. That was our first method. In the case of second method, how we are going to decide the value of supply? If someone is going to exchange an amount of 1 lakh rupees, up to 1 lakh rupees, you have Indian currency 1 lakh rupees and you want to convert the same into foreign currency. In that case, the amount is up to 1 lakh rupees. In that case, you may take the value of supply as 1% of the gross amount charged, currency exchanged for an amount up to 1 lakh rupees, subject to a minimum amount of 250 rupees. Suppose I am going to convert 50,000 rupees into foreign currency. In that case, I may take 50,000 multiplied by 1%, that is 500 or 250 rupees, whichever is higher, that is 500 will be the value of supply and GST should be charged on that 500 rupees. Second, if the amount is in excess of 1 lakh rupees up to 10 lakh rupees, in that case, we may take the value of supply as 1,000 rupees and half percent of the currency exchanged. Suppose currency exchange is 5 lakh rupees in excess of 1 lakh rupees up to 10 lakh rupees. In that case, we may take half percent of that, that is 2,500 plus 1,000 rupees is the value of supply. Third situation, where the currency exchange is in excess of 10 lakh rupees up to 60,000 rupees. Where the amount in excess of 10 lakh rupees. Okay. First situation up to 1 lakh rupees. Second situation 1 lakh rupee up to 10 lakh rupees. And third situation is about 10 lakh rupees. In that case, 5,500 rupees and 1/10 of 110% of the currency amount exchanged subject to a maximum amount of 60,000 rupees. Okay. So example is there. In first case, the amount is up to 1 lakh rupees, that is 80,000 rupees. 1% of the currency exchange, that is 800 or 250, whichever is higher, that is 800 will be the value of supply. In second situation, amount is in excess of 1 lakh rupees up to 10 lakh rupees. In that case, 5 lakh 60,000. We have taken that example. So 0.50% of that 5 lakh 60,000, that is 2,800 plus 1,000, that is 3,800 will be the value of supply. Third situation, 16 lakh rupees, that is in excess of 10 lakh rupees. In that case, 5,500 plus 0.10% of 16 lakh rupees, that is total is 7,100 rupees. So the 7,100 rupees will be the value of supply. So here two method is available in case of foreign currency exchange for deciding the value of supply. And the option we need to select in the beginning of the financial year, and the method will be applicable for the whole financial year. So whenever we are going for the audit of the any bank or NBFC, in that case, if there is any transaction of foreign currency, in that case, we need to check the things that the valuation is as per the norms. What is the method the bank is going to follow, and the valuation is as per that particular method. Okay. Now, we had done the foreign currency situation. Lottery, we had already covered. Normal provisions, we had already covered. In case of money plus monetary consideration, we had covered. In case of distinct and related person, rule number 28. In case of principal and agent, rule number 29. If rule number 27, 28, 29 is not applicable, in that case, rule number 30 is there. Cost plus 10%, that is 110% will be the value of supply. Now, the value of supply of services in relation to booking of tickets. What will be the value of supply in case of booking of tickets for an air travel agent? अगर कोई ट्रेवलिंग एजेंट मल्टीपल टाइम वी आर गोइंग टू आउटसाइड इंडिया और इन द इंडिया एंड if we are going to take the help of any air travel agent for booking the tickets, in that case what will be the value of supply of service by that air travel agent? In that case, if we are going to book and domestic flight or domestic transportation, in that case by air, in that case 5% of basic fare will be the value of supply. Suppose the basic fare is 10,000 rupees, in that case 5%, that is 500 rupees will be the value of supply. When we are going to book any international flights, in that case the value of supply will be 10% of the basic fare. Suppose the basic fare is 1 lakh rupees, in that case 10%, that is 10,000 will be the value of supply, and the air travel agent has to pay the taxes on that 10,000 rupees. Okay, so this is a specific case in which the GST will be payable on air tickets. Now, what will be the value of supply for an insurance agent in case of insurance businesses? So, when the gross premium charged from a policyholder reduced by the amount allocated for the investment or saving on behalf of the policyholder, if such amount is intimated to the policyholder at the time of supply of services. Suppose I have taken one insurance policy from Mr. X, okay, and in the insurance policy, I am going to submit a premium of 10,000 rupees. In that case, if 6,000 is invested on behalf of me to various companies and 4,000 is the going to that particular insurance company, in that case that 4,000 will be the value of supply. जो भी amount मेरे behalf पर वहां पर investment हो रहा है, that will not part of the value of supply. Okay, we all know that GST will be applicable on the services itself. Okay, in that case 6,000 को कहीं और जाकर के invest कर रहा है, in that case no GST will be chargeable. GST will be chargeable on the part of services, hence 4,000 will be applicable GST. So we need to check each and everything from logic also, so that it will be more convenient for us to understand the things. Now, in case of single premium annuity policies other than A, in that case 10% of the single premium charged from the policy holder will be the value of supply. Okay. If you know the investment figure, in that case option is that 10,000 minus investment value जो भी हो 4,000 will be your value of supply. If you have no idea about the investment, what will be the amount which is going to be invested, in that case for that insurance agent 10% of the sum will be treated as value of supply. That is 10,000 if he is going to take, in that case 10% of that 10,000, that is 1,000 will be value of supply, and he need to make the payment of GST on that 1,000 rupees. Now, in all other cases, 25% of the premium charged from the policy holder in the first year and 12 and a half year for the next year will be the value of supply. Suppose I have taken an insurance policy for 10 years, and per year premium is 5,000 rupees. In that case, for first year 25% of the premium will be the value of supply, and for second, third, fourth, fifth onwards 12.5% of the premium will be treated as your value of supply, and GST should be payable on that. So conclusively, we can say in case of insurance businesses for single annuity policy, if the investment amount is known, in that case, whatever premium will be charged minus that investment amount, whatever will be the remaining balance, that will be value of supply. If the investment amount is not known at the time of investment, in that case, 10% of the premium will be treated as value of supply. If the insurance policy is for 10 years or 15 years, in that case, first year premium ka 25% will be the value of supply, and for the remaining life, 12.5% of the premium will be the value of supply. That is what is the concept which is applicable in case of insurance businesses. And if we are going to get the audit of any insurance agent, in that case, we need to check the things accordingly that the GST figure is perfect or not. Okay. Next scenario is GST on second hand goods. Buying and selling of second hand goods. Suppose I had buy a second hand goods for 1 lakh rupees, one machinery. No GST was there. Okay. मैंने कोई अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन से 1 लाख रुपीस के अंदर कोई मशीनरी बाय की सेकंड हैंड. आई बॉट वन मशीनरी फॉर 1 लाख रुपीस फ्रॉम एन अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, एंड आई एम गोइंग टू मेक सेल ऑफ दैट मशीनरी फॉर 1,20,000 rupees. In that case, on which amount I need to charge the GST? If I am going to say that on that 1,20,000 rupees GST should be chargeable, in that case the amount will be very huge. So here is a specific provision in case of second hand goods. Whatever will be the margin money, that is 1,20,000 minus 1 lakh, that is 20,000 will be the value of supply, and GST will be charged on that 20,000 rupees. Suppose if I bought that machinery from the unregistered person for 1 lakh rupees, and I am going to make the supply for 80,000 rupees, in that case there is a loss of 20,000 rupees. So specifically in case of second hand goods, if the margin is in negative, in that case there will no GST will be applicable. So in that case, no applicability of GST. GST will not be payable in that case. But suppose I had bought that second hand goods from a registered person for 1 lakh, and he has charged GST 18%. Registered person, and he has charged GST of 18%. In that case, if I am going to make the sale of for 1,20,000, in that case, GST will be charged on that complete 1,20,000 rupees, 18%. Or in that case, if I bought that machinery for 1 lakh rupees, and if I am going to make a supply for 80,000 rupees, in that case also margin money is in negative, but GST will be payable on that 80,000 rupees. That is what is the concept which is specifically applicable for an second hand goods products. Okay, the same provision is here. Buying and selling of second hand products, you can read the language. This is a very much specific and very common topic. Okay, so next, आपने नाम तो सुना होगा प्योर एजेंट. Whenever someone is going to make any payment or make any work on behalf of any other person. In that case, that person will be called that that person is doing the services as a pure agent. सपोज अशोक जी मुझसे अपना जीएसटी का काम करवाते हैं. अशोक जी ने मुझे अपना जीएसटी का काम दिया है. अशोक जी हैज गिवन मी द जीएसटी वर्क टू मी. ओके, एंड माय फीस फॉर पर मंथ इज 1 lakh rupees. ओके, I am charging 1 lakh rupees per month for filing the GST returns and providing the GST consultancy. Okay, in a specific month there is a payable of 50,000 rupees. Okay, and I had paid that 50,000 rupees on behalf of Ashok ji. In that case, I have generated one invoice for 1 lakh rupees and 50,000 rupees as tax paid. In that case, I am going to make payment of that 50,000 rupees on behalf of Mr. Ashok ji. वो मेरी liability नहीं है. So in that case, the value of supply will be just 1 lakh rupees. On that 50,000 rupees, there is no requirement to make the payment of taxes because I am doing the same in the capacity of pure agent. मैं उनका pure agent हूँ और in the case of in the capacity of that pure agent, I am just going to make the payment to the GST department. So in that case, no GST will be payable on that 50,000 rupees. GST will be payable on that 1 lakh rupees only. That is what is the concept of pure agent. You got my point regarding the pure agent concept. So as per section 15 subsection 1, we had discussed that whenever there is a buyer and supplier is not the related party and price is the sole consideration. In that case, the transaction value will be treated as your value of supply. Okay. देन नेक्स्ट सिचुएशन हम लोगों ने डिस्कस की कि हम लोगों को कुछ जो लोडिंग अनलोडिंग एक्सपेंडिचर्स है, जो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन चार्जेस हैं, जो इंसिडेंशियल एक्सपेंडिचर है, वी नीड टू ऐड द सेम इनटू द ट्रांजैक्शन वैल्यू. आफ्टर दैट रूल नंबर 27, 29, 30, 28, 29, 30, 31, 31A, 32 हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया. बाइंग एंड सेलिंग ऑफ सेकंड हैंड गुड्स एंड प्योर एजेंट का कॉन्सेप्ट. All these things are okay in your mind. Just confirm me that, sir, if now I am going to provide any situation regarding valuation, and if you are getting any practical case to decide the value in a particular case, you are self-sufficient to decide the value of supply. You are self-sufficient to check the correctness of that value of supply. Just confirm me in the chat box that from the point of view of valuation, everything is okay. Okay. Because we had covered the theory as well as I am going to take certain examples for you. Okay. Now, whenever you come certain practical cases in your day-to-day life, at the time of scrutiny, at the time of audit, at the time of checking the data of your clients, you got perfect idea that, sir, we have idea how we are going to decide the value of supply. So this is the thing, we had covered each and everything. You just need to collect a certain practical scenario from the data so that it will be more convenient for you to understand the things. So I am waiting for your reply that valuation part section 15 and all the valuation rules is okay, so that we can take the next point, which is the heart of GST, that is input tax credit. Before moving ahead, just confirm me. सर चैट बॉक्स में रिप्लाई लिखने में शायद इतना टाइम नहीं लगना चाहिए. Now, Why I am saying that input tax credit is the heart of GST? What is the reason behind this? You and I, we all know very well that maximum of the litigations are due to input tax credit. I know in our today's session, maximum of you are from the department, you are the various authority in the GST department. So you know very well that in maximum cases, you are going to issue the notice on account of the differences between the GSTR 3B and GSTR 2A, GSTR 3B and GSTR 2B, and all that. For eligibility of input tax credit, regarding the reversal part, regarding any other part, you are going to issue the notices. Regarding the blocked credit, you are going to issue the credited notices. Regarding the reversal on account of rule number 42 and 43, you are going to issue the notices. Although लास्ट 2 to 3 years के अंदर मैंने कोई भी नोटिस नहीं देखा है जो रूल 42 42 के 43 के लिए आया हो, इन एलिजिबल इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के रिगार्डिंग आया हो, ब्लॉक्ड क्रेडिट के रिगार्डिंग आया हो. Department is going to issue the notices for the difference between the GSTR 3B and 2B and GSTR 3B and 2A. It is my humble request to the departmental authorities that not you need to issue the notices for GSTR 2 and 2B and 3B, whatever will be. So you can issue the notices. There is no issue with that. But just focus on certain other things, because there are multiple things that available in GST itself on which you can raise the demand. And there are multiple compliance errors are also available. So we need to be very much careful for that also. I know very well that the notices are system generated and all these things are there, but we need to take care of it whenever we are going to take any case for scrutiny or for business audit. We need to focus on these things also. Or as a professional, as a chartered accountant, to save my client, we also need to check these things at the time of doing the income tax audit, or at the time when we are going to do the GSTR 9 and 9C, all that. For all my clients, I am going to do that exercise at the time of income tax audit as well as at the time of filing the GSTR 9 and 9C before the deadline of section 16 subsection 4. So that if there is any correction, if there is any mistake, because as a human mistakes ho sakti hai. So if there is any mistake, if there is any reversal part, we can check the things. We are also going to do the internal audit of our clients from GST point of view and compliance health check, so that it will be more convenient for our client as well as for us, that at the time of litigation we have all the facts ready in our hand, so that we can easily argue with the departmental authority, and this is a perfect solution. Okay, डिपार्टमेंटल अथॉरिटीज नोटिस देंगे, अपने पास में उसका जवाब होना चाहिए. दैट इज व्हाट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट. सो सर, with that I am going to start the concept of input tax credit. So, as per section 16 subsection 1 says, every registered person shall subject to such condition and restrictions as may be prescribed in manner specified in section 49 be entitled to take the credit of input tax charged on any goods or services or both to him which are used or intended to be used in the course or furtherance of business, and such amount shall be credited to the electronic credit ledger. So, when we are going to read the language of section 16 subsection 1, as per the language of section 16 subsection 1, there is no restriction. There is only one restriction, is that whenever you are going to use anything in the course or furtherance of your business, for your business, intended or to be used for your business, in that case, for that particular type of product and for that particular type of services, you are eligible to claim the tax credit. That means if I am going to buy anything for my business, in that case, I am eligible to claim the input tax credit for that buying. But section 16 subsection 2 कहती है कि notwithstanding anything contained in this section, no registered person shall be entitled to credit of any input tax in respect of any supply of goods or services unless. So as per section 16 subsection 2, no one can claim the input tax credit without fulfilling these mandatory conditions. So there are 5 mandatory conditions are available, and if someone is going to fulfill these 5 mandatory conditions, in that case he or she can claim the input tax credit. or that particular taxpayer can claim the input tax credit. So what are the conditions? We need to discuss on that very carefully. First condition, tax invoice or debit note. Whenever I am going to take any input tax credit, the condition is that I have the invoice or debit note, and without that invoice or without that debit note, I am not eligible to take the input tax credit. The invoice or debit note can be in a digital form or can be in a physical form. That is okay, but there is requirement that document should be with the that particular person. Next, whatever input I am going to claim, the same should be available in the GSTR to be returned. GSTR to be return is the auto-populated return. If I am a supplier, in that case, I am going to file the GSTR1 return, and the same data is auto-populated in the return of GSTR2B. Okay. In that case, as a buyer, when I am going to claim my input tax credit, in that case, I am only eligible to claim that input tax credit at the time the same is available in my GSTR to be return. If the same is available in my GSTR to be return, in that case, I am eligible to claim that particular input tax credit. If the same is not available in my GSTR to be returned, in that case, I am not eligible to claim the input tax credit. So the first condition is that I have the invoice or debit note. Whenever we are going for the departmental audit, in that case, we need to check that if someone is going to claim the input tax credit, the invoice is available with that person or not. Second condition, the same input tax credit is available in GSTR to be returned. Third condition, he has received the goods or services. Whenever you are going for the departmental audit, or whenever we are going to check the GST returns of our clients, in that case, we need to check that, sir, that supplier has received that buyer has received the goods or not. Suppose when we are going to check the purchase register, if the invoice date is 30th June or 29th June, in that case, we need to identify that if the goods is received from Maharashtra, if the goods is received from Maharashtra and the person is in Rajasthan, in that case, we need to check that this is possible that within one day that goods is received by that particular Rajasthan person from Maharashtra. We need to check the same from the purchase register. If he has not received the goods, in that case, he is not entitled to claim that input tax credit. He need to claim the input tax credit in the next month when he received the goods. So we need to check from the purchase register, and we found many entries. In that case, the entries are for the last day of month, and the taxpayer has not received the goods only on the basis of the date of the invoice. The taxpayer is going to claim the input tax credit. We need to take reference of this, and we need to take the action as per section 16, subsection 2, subclause number B. So first condition is that debit note or tax invoice. Second condition, the same is reflected in the GST act to be returned. And third condition is that that person has received the goods or services. Okay. Now, fourth condition. Subject to the provision of section 41, tax charged in respect of such supply has been actually paid to the government. Suppose I am going to make supply of a particular product to Mr. X. In that case, Mr. X is eligible to claim the input tax credit when I had paid the taxes to the government. That is, that buyer has to take care of that supplier. If the supplier is not going to make the payment to the government, in that case, buyer is not eligible to claim the input tax credit. There is multiple case studies also available from Delhi High Court, from Gujarat High Court. In that case, Honorable High Court has pronounced that if supplier is not going to make the payment, in that case, buyer is bona fide. In that case, buyer has to claim. Buyer has to provide the input tax credit. Buyer can take the input tax credit. There are certain case studies available, but this is also in a litigation, so we need to take care of it. Next, he has furnished the return under section 39, that is, he has furnished the GSTR 3B return. So there are certain conditions. Invoice and debit note should be there. Goods received हो गया होना चाहिए, and the same is reflected in GSTR 3B return. Tax has already been paid by the supplier, and also GSTR 3B has been filed. If all the conditions are fulfilled, in that case, buyer is eligible to claim the input tax credit. Whenever we are going to check the purchase register GSTR to be written at the time of departmental audit, at the time of filing of GSTR 9 and 9C, we need to check that the input tax credit which is claimed by that particular person, he is eligible to claim or not as per section 16 subsection 2. Now, suppose buyer ने वो सारी की सारी कंडीशन फुलफिल कर ली, buyer fulfilled all the conditions. बायर ने सारी की सारी कंडीशंस फुलफिल कर ली. इन दैट केस buyer has bought that goods for 1 lakh from supplier, and buyer needs to make the payment to the supplier within 180 days from the issue of invoice. And if buyer is not going to make the payment to the supplier within 180 days, in that case, whatever will be the amount of input tax credit which is claimed by that buyer, in that case, after expiry of that 180 days, that is on the 181st day, buyer needs to reverse that input tax credit. Buyer को हाथों हाथ वहां पर वो input tax credit reverse करनी पड़ेगी. Suppose in our example, Mr. X has bought goods from Mr. Y for 1 lakh rupees. And if X has made the payment of 60,000 rupees to Mr. Y within 180 days, but the 40,000 is still pending. In that case, Mr. X has to reverse the input tax credit on that 40,000 rupees. That means जिसका पेमेंट हो गया उसके ऊपर यहाँ पर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट को रिवर्स करने की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट शुड बी रिवर्स्ड ओनली ऑन द ड्यू अमाउंट. Okay, so that is what is the proviso of section 16 subsection 2 within 180 days. Is that okay? Section 16 subsection 3 says that if you are going to claim the depreciation, that means suppose I am going to take the example, and with that example I am going to explain the things, and we need to check the things at the time of our audits. Suppose Mr. X has bought and fixed assets for 1 lakh rupees. GST is 18%, that is 18,000 rupees. Invoice is 1 lakh 18,000 rupees. In that case, as per Income Tax Act 1961, he is also eligible to claim the depreciation on that fixed assets. So, in that case, Mr. X is eligible to claim the depreciation on that 1 lakh rupees only. He is not eligible to claim the depreciation on 1 lakh 18,000 rupees. He is just eligible to claim the depreciation on the taxable value part. Okay, and if he is going to take the depreciation on complete 1 lakh 18,000 rupees, in that case, he is not eligible to claim the input tax credit. So, the taxpayer has two options. One, he can take the benefit of depreciation, or he can take the benefit of input tax credit. Both benefits he cannot take in one time. So, he need to take the depreciation on 1 lakh rupees, that is taxable value. On that tax amount, he is not eligible to claim the depreciation. Okay, and he can take the input tax rate of 18,000. Is that okay? Section 16 subsection 3 regarding the depreciation part. Section 16 subsection 4, which is very much important section, that is timeline. If section 16 subsection 4, suppose during financial year 2022-2023, I had made certain mistakes while filing my GSTR returns, whether it is a GSTR 3B return or GSTR 1 return. I had made certain mistakes while filing the GST returns. In that case, what is the timeline in which I can make the amendments? So maximum timeline in which I can make the amendments will be the 30th November of next financial year, or annual return filing date. Whichever is earlier will be the time of supply. Whichever will be the earlier, which will be the last date in which I can take the amendments. I can make the amendments. So as per section 16 subsection 4 for financial year 2022 2023, the maximum timeline will be 30th November 2023, or suppose I had filed my annual return on 20th of November. In that case, 20th November will be the last date from which I can make the amendments in my GST returns, whether it will be a GSTR1 return or GSTR3B return. So this is the timeline as per section 16 subsection 4. So section 16 subsection 1 talks about that anyone can claim the one can claim the input tax credit, that is taxpayer can claim the input tax credit on the basis if he has bought certain goods and he is going to use the same in the course or furtherance of business. In that case, taxpayer is eligible to claim the input tax credit. Second, section 16 subsection 2 talks about certain conditions that taxpayer has to fulfill these conditions if taxpayer is going to fulfill all these conditions, in that case taxpayer is eligible to claim the input tax credit. First condition was that he has the invoice is available with the taxpayer. Second, the same input is available in the GSTR to be returned. The input is reflected in GSTR to be returned. The goods has received, supplier has made the payment of taxes, and GSTR 3B has already been filed. With that proviso says that buyer needs to make the payment to the supplier within 180 days from the date of issue of invoices. And if buyer is not going to make the payment within 180 days to the supplier, in that case buyer is not eligible to claim the input tax credit. Hence, on the 181st day, buyer has to reverse the input tax credit. If he has made the payment of partial amount, in that case buyer needs to make the reversal of partial amount of input tax credit only. Then after we have discussed on section number 16 subsection 3, in that case we have discussed that if someone is going to claim the depreciation on taxable value, in that case he is eligible to claim the input tax credit. And if someone is going to claim the depreciation on input tax credit also, that is on invoice value, in that case input tax credit is not available in that case. That then section 16 subsection 4, the maximum timeline in which one can file the amendments in the return related to a particular financial year, and the date will be, the last date will be 30th November, or the date on which the person is going to file the GSTR 9 return, that is annual return, whichever is earlier will be the last date to file the amendments. Is that okay? Section 16 subsection 1, 2, 3, 4 is okay for you? Reversal we had already discussed. So just comment in the chat box that section 16 subsection 1, 2, 3, 4 is okay. Now we are going to start our discussion on a specific section, that is section 17 subsection 5, that is block the credit. We are also going to discuss on section 17 subsection 1, 2, 3, 4 in our tomorrow session. Okay, now we are going to start our discussion on section 17 subsection 5, a very specific and very important section. All those type of supply which is mentioned in that section 17 subsection 5, on which input tax rate is blocked under GST. That means taxpayer is not eligible to claim the input tax credit on all these type of supplies. So we are going to discuss on all these type of supply, that is blocked credit, one by one. So फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल एज पर सेक्शन 17 सबसेक्शन 5 कहीं पर भी कुछ भी लिखा हुआ हो, if the transaction is covered under section 17(5), in that case input tax credit is not allowed on that particular type of supply. Now, first, motor vehicles for transportation of person having approved sitting capacity not more than 13%. In that case, input tax rate is not allowed. That means if you are going to buy a motor vehicle for your business purposes in the course or furtherance of your business for a consideration, in that case also you are not eligible to claim the input tax rate, except if you are going to use that motor vehicle for further supply. Suppose you are an agent, you have the dealership of Tata and you are buying that motor vehicles and you are selling that motor vehicles to others. In that case, input tax credit is allowed. Another example, if you are going to use that motor vehicles for the transportation of passengers, that means from that particular vehicle, you are going to provide the transportation services. In that case, input tax credit is allowed. Or if you are going to use that motor vehicle for training purposes, suppose you are a motor car trainer and for training purposes you are going to buy that car. In that case input tax rate is allowed. In all other cases input tax rate is not allowed if the sitting capacity is not more than 30. Okay, if someone is going to buy the motor vehicle, in that case input is not allowed, but if he is going to use the same in the course or furtherance of business, input tax rate is not allowed. But input tax rate is allowed when he is going to make further supply of that motor vehicles for training purposes or for transportation of passengers. Is that okay? Specific thing for motor vehicle, this provision is applicable. Now, for vessel and aircraft, if someone is going to buy that vessel and aircraft, in that case, input tax rate is not allowed. But input tax rate is allowed when the taxpayer is going to make further supply of that vessel and aircraft, because in that case, the particular taxpayer is dealing and involved in the further supply of that vessels and aircraft. In that case, input tax rate is allowed. Second, if he is going to use that vessel and aircraft for the transportation of passengers, Air India, if Air India is going to buy any aircraft, in that case, input tax rate is allowed in the hand of Air India, because Air India is going to make the services, is going to provide the services of passenger transportation. And the Air India company and the working of Air India is only due to that vehicles, hence input tax rate is allowed. If that vessels or aircraft is used for training purposes, in that case also input tax credit is allowed. Okay, and on these motor vehicles, on these vessels and aircraft, input tax credit is not allowed. But if you are going to use the same for further supply for training purposes for transportation of passengers, in that case input tax credit is allowed. And on account of these motor vehicles, vessels and aircraft, all type of repair and maintenance, insurance and other expenses, input tax credit is not allowed. But if you are going to use that motor vehicles as vessels and aircraft for the specified purposes, specified purposes means for training purposes, for transportation of passengers, for further supply, in that case the insurance, repair, maintenance related input tax credit is allowed. That is what is the concept of these motor vehicles, vessels and aircraft. Sir, is that okay? Section 17 subsection 5 ka point number 1 regarding vessel and aircraft. If someone is going to buy the vehicle for the promotion, okay, for display purposes, in that case input tax rate is allowed. Suppose I am a dealer, okay, and for display purposes I am buying certain motor vehicles. In that case input tax rate is allowed and the same discussion is here. Next, if company provides vehicles to other on lease, then ITC on purchase of vehicles is allowed. Suppose I am going to buy the vehicles and I am going to provide that vehicles on lease to others. In that case, I am getting the lease rent and I am going to pay the GST on that lease rent. In that case, input tax credit is allowed on buying of that particular vehicles, because my complete earning is only due to those vehicles. In that case input tax credit is allowed. I am just going to share you the logic so that it will be more easy to you to understand and memorize these things. Next, No ITC on vehicle used for transportation of cash. If any vehicle is used for the transportation of cash only, in that case, input tax credit is not allowed because cash is not covered under the definition of goods. और अगर कोई चीज गुड्स की डेफिनेशन में नहीं आती है, अगर आप उसको केवल इसको ट्रेवल करने के लिए व्हीकल खरीद रहे हो, इन दैट केस input is not allowed. Next, for the following supply of goods and services, input tax credit is not allowed. That is, input tax credit is blocked under section 17, section 5. Food and beverages, outdoor catering, beauty treatment, health services, cosmetic, plastic surgery, leasing, renting, hiring motor vehicles, vessels, aircraft. In that case, input tax credit is not allowed. But if you are going to provide these outdoor catering, beauty treatment services, you are going to provide the product to a registered person. In that case, input tax credit is allowed because registered person, that means you are going to make the further supply to that person. Hence, input tax credit is allowed. But if that registered person is going to use that particular products for their home consumption, in that case, input tax credit is not allowed. Okay. So the proviso is there. The input tax rate in respect of such goods or services both shall be available where an inward supply of such goods or services or both is used by a registered person for making an outward taxable supply of the same category of goods or services or both. That means for beauty treatment, suppose there is a product and you are going to sell that particular product to any person, in that case input tax rate is allowed. That means whatever you are getting the from as an inward supply and you are going to supply the same as your outward supply, in that case input tax credit is allowed. If you are going to do any modification, in that case input tax credit is not allowed. Suppose for beauty treatment आपने कोई cream या फिर face wash buy किया and you are going to sell that cream or face wash, in that case input tax credit is allowed. But आप आपके saloon में कोई बंदा है and you are going to provide the services of the services of whatever kind of face maintenance services, okay, you are going to provide, in that case input tax credit is not allowed. If you are going to make the as it is supply, in that case input is allowed. In case of membership club, health and fitness centers, input tax credit is not allowed. Now, one important points regarding works contract services when supplied for a construction of immobile property, in that case input tax credit is not allowed except plant and machinery. That means if someone is going to provide the works contract services on account of plant and machinery, in that case input tax credit is allowed. But if someone is going to provide the works contract services other than plant and machinery, in that case input tax credit is not allowed. Okay, so now that means on plant and machinery procurement, ITC is allowed. I am going to buy a plant and machinery for my business. In that case, ITC is allowed. If repair and renovation is not capitalized in the books of accounts, then ITC is allowed. Whenever you are going to check the financial statement of any person, फ्रॉम जीएसटी ऑडिट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, आपको ये चेक करना है कि कहीं उसने कोई ऐसा एक्सपेंडिचर है जो कैपिटल नेचर है, उसको रेवेन्यू नेचर ट्रीट करके क्लेम तो नहीं करनी है. वी नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई द सेम बिकॉज वी नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई द नेचर ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन. कहीं उसने उसको कैपिटल नेचर को, रेवेन्यू नेचर को ट्रीट नहीं कर दिया या फिर रेवेन्यू नेचर को कैपिटल नेचर को नहीं ट्रीट किया. दिस टाइप के इन्वेस्टिगेशंस वी नीड टू डू so that we find out certain things. Shed to protect the plant and machinery or civil structure, hence ITC is not allowed. The same decision is pronounced by the double AR of Andhra Pradesh. But as per my opinion, in case of shed, input tax credit should be allowed because shed is also the part of plant and machinery and linked to the land, but the shed is not the immobile property. You can use that particular shed on any other places without any structural damages. So that will be treated as the movable property. The input tax credit should be allowed. But the decision is completely based on your presentation. So whatever was the fact in that specific case depends. Okay. Now, no ITC on lift installed in the beginning building because is a part of an immobile property. If you are going to install a lift in a building, in that case, input tax credit is not allowed because this should be considered as the internal fitting and part of immobile property. Hence, ITC is not allowed. If someone is going to make his own construction, ओन अकाउंट पे कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन करवा रहा है फॉर बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन कोई इनपुट यहाँ पर आई है, इन दैट केस इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट इज नॉट अलाउड. बट सपोज I had constructed one building and I am going to provide the complete building on rent itself, and I am paying the GST on rental income. In that case, I am eligible to claim the input tax credit for that construction because that construction is necessary for the income generation. So the same expense is the same example is here, and the decision is pronounced by Honorable Madras. If any taxable person is going to buy any product, any construction products for his business purposes, in that case, input tax credit is not allowed. Suppose I am a manufacturing unit, I have a manufacturing unit, and for doing that manufacturing, if I am going to construct any building, any immovable property, in that case, input is not allowed. Okay, कोई कह सकता है कि यहाँ पर भी तो बिल्डिंग का कंस्ट्रक्शन बिजनेस के कारण है और मेरे रेवेन्यू विल बी ड्यू टू दैट बिल्डिंग. In that case, input is allowed. The logic behind that, the building is not merely the reason for my revenue. Thousands of things are there in that manufacturing process. Manpower are there, plant and machinery are there, input products are there. Hence, I am getting that amount. Hence, government says that input tax rate is not allowed. But whenever someone is going to construct any building and generating the revenue from that building part only, in that case, input is allowed. If someone is going to make the payment of taxes under section 10, that is composition scheme, if someone is going to make the payment as a concessional rate, if the turnover is below 1.5 cr, in that case the taxpayer can select the composition scheme, and in that case he is not eligible, taxpayer is not eligible to claim the input tax credit. Goods or services received by a non-resident taxable person except goods imported by him, in that case input is not allowed. If someone is going to use that particular product for his personal consumption, in that case input tax credit is not allowed. Suppose I have a GST number and I had bought one television और मैंने उसको मेरे घर के अंदर लगाया है. In that case I am going to use that particular television for my personal use, so input tax credit will not be allowed. If someone is going to provide that goods, that in case of goods lost, destroyed, stolen, okay, in that case input tax credit is not allowed because this type of loss should be considered as your abnormal loss. For normal losses, input tax credit is allowed. For abnormal losses, input tax credit is not allowed. Sir, what is the difference between normal loss and abnormal loss? I have a manufacturing unit. Okay. I have a manufacturing unit and I need to input 1 lakh units. And from that input, I am getting 80,000 units at my output. 20,000 is my normal loss. In case of normal loss, input tax rate is allowed on that complete 1 lakh units. Suppose at a particular time, I had to input 1 lakh units, but I got 70,000 output only. 20,000 is my normal loss and 10,000 is my abnormal loss. In that case, I am eligible to claim input tax credit on only on that normal loss. I am not eligible to claim the input tax credit on that abnormal loss. That is, I am going to claim the input tax credit on 90,000 units. Okay, that is what is the concept. So in case of goods lost or destroyed or written off, this type of losses are due to abnormal things. So in case of abnormal loss, input tax credit is not allowed. If someone is going to make any payment on account of demand under section 74, that is अगर कोई demand departmental authority से आई है, suppression of fact of fraud उसने किया है, for that purpose he is going to make the payment of taxes, in that case input tax credit is not allowed. So these are the things which is blocked under section 17 subsection 5, motor vehicles, vessel, aircraft, food, beverages, beauty treatment products, okay, works contract services, composition taxable person, personal consumption के लिए ले लिया, और गुड्स लॉस्ट डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया या फिर कोई डिमांड के अंदर में जाकर के कोई गुड टैक्स का पेमेंट करता हूं, इन दैट केस इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट इज नॉट अलाउड। दैट इज व्हाट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ सेक्शन नंबर 17 सबसेक्शन 5। Now, if someone is going to make the distribution of gift free samples, in that case, input tax credit is not allowed. Okay, we had already discussed the same. So basically, these are the points on which we had done our discussion. So in our today's session, basically we had started our discussion with the valuation section 16, subsection 1 and 2. After that, we had discussed on the rule number 27 that will be applicable in case of money plus monetary value. Section rule number 28, which will be applicable in case of your distinct person. Rule number 29 will be applicable in case of principal and agent supply. Rule number 30 is a master key. Whenever we are not able to decide the value as per rule number 27, 28, 29, in that case we need to take the reference of rule number 30. Okay, rule उसके बाद में we had discussed on the foreign currency exchange के केस में how we are going to decide the value. Two methods are there. We bank need to select that method in the beginning of the financial year. Insurance business के लिए how we are going to decide the value. In case of travel booking, we had discussed on that. Second hand goods के sale और purchase पे how we need to decide the value. Pure agent services केस पे कैसे हमको value decide करनी है. Then after we had started our discussion on a very topic, that is input tax credit. As per section 16 subsection 1, input tax credit is allowed if someone is going to use the particular products in the course of furtherance of business. सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 5 टाइप की कंडीशंस यहां पर इंपोज करती है टू क्लेम द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 3 regarding depreciation part, and section 16 subsection 4 regarding the maximum timeline to amend the GST returns. Okay. Then after we had started our discussion on section 17 subsection 5, that is block the credit motor vehicles, vessel, aircraft, food beverages and beauty treatment and personal consumption, works contract and goods lost stolen. These type of things we had discussed in our today's session. So sir, we can say that supply part is okay, time of supply is okay, mixed and composite supply is okay. Then after time of supply is okay, value of supplies is okay, and today we had discussed on the input tax credit also. In our tomorrow session, we are going to discuss on the apportionment of input tax credit. Also, we are going to discuss on the concept of input service distributor, and we are going to start the topic of place of supply. And in our next session, we are also going to discuss on refund under GST. We are going to discuss on assessment on audit under GST. These are the topic on which we are going to discuss in our next 2 days. Okay, sir. So thank you for your patience learning. If you have any question, if you have any doubt regarding our today's session or regarding our last 2 days session, you are free to raise your question in the WhatsApp group so that we can take the queries in our next session. Okay, sir. So for today, thank you. Stay connected for more updates. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good night. Bye bye.